it's Maria from Still Dreaming Homestead. I'm back, and we're going to continue reading in our book, On the Banks of Plum Creek by Laura Ingalls Wilder. We're on chapter 14. Spring Freshet. We're going to find out what a freshet is. In the middle of the night, Laura sat straight up in bed. She had never heard anything like the roaring at the door. Pa, what's that? She cried. Sounds like the creek, he said, jumping out of bed. He opened the door and the roaring came into the black darkness of the dugout. It scared Laura. She heard Pa shouting, "Jiminy crickets! It's raining fish hooks and hammer handles." Ma said something that Laura could not hear. "Can't see a thing," Pa shouted. "It's as dark as a stack of black cats. Don't worry, the creek can't get up this high. It'll go over the low bank on the other side." He shut the door and the roaring was not so loud. "Go to sleep, Laura," he said. But Laura lay awake, listening to the roaring, thundering by the door. Then she opened her eyes. The window was gray, and Pa was gone. Ma was getting breakfast, but the creek was still roaring. In a flash, Laura was out of bed and opening the door. Whoosh! Icy cold rain went all over her and took her breath away. She jumped out into the cold water, pouring it down her whole skin. Right at her feet, the creek was rushing and roaring. The path ended where she was. Angry water was leaping and rolling over the steps that used to go to the footbridge. The willow clumps were drowned, and the treetops swirled in the yellow foam. The noise crowded into Laura's ears. She could not hear the rain. She felt it beating on her sopping wet nightgown. She felt it striking her head as if she had no hair, but she could only hear the creek's wild roaring. The fast, strong water was fearful and fascinating. It snarled, foaming through the willow tops and swirled far out into the prairie. It came dashing high and white around the bend upstream. It was always changing and always the same, strong and terrible. Suddenly, Ma jerked Laura into the dugout, asking her, "Didn't you hear me call you?" "No, Ma," Laura said. "Well, no," Ma said, "I suppose you didn't." Water was streaming down Laura and making a puddle down by her feet. Ma pulled off her sticking to her wet nightgown and rubbed her hard all over with a towel to dry. "Now dress quickly," Ma said, "or you'll catch your death of a cold." But Laura was glowing warm. She had never felt so fine and frisky. Mary said, "I'm surprised at you, Laura. I wouldn't go out in the rain and get all wet like that." "Oh, Mary, you just ought to see that creek," Laura cried. And she asked, "Ma, may I go out and see it again after breakfast?" "You may not," said Ma. "Not while it's raining." But while they were eating breakfast, the rain stopped. The sun was shining, and Pa said that Laura and Mary might go with him to look at the creek. The air was fresh and clean and damp. It smelled like spring. The sky was blue with large clouds sailing in it. All the snow was gone from the soaking wet earth. Up on the high bank, Laura could still hear the creek roaring. "This weather beats me," said Pa. "I've never seen anything like it." "Is it still grasshopper weather?" Laura asked him. Pa didn't know. They went along the high bank. looking at the strange sights. The roaring, foaming creek changed everything. The plum thickets were only foamy brushwood in the water. The tableland that had been so high was now a round island. All around it, the water flowed smoothly, coming out of a wide, humping river and running back into it. Where the swimming pool had been, the tall willows were short willows standing in a lake. Beyond them, the land that Pa had plowed lay black and wet. Pa looked at it and said, "It won't be long now till I can get the wheat planted." That was a very short chapter, but we'll end there. And we'll read another chapter tomorrow. Have you ever seen when it was flooding? That's what they're having, flooding. One time, my son and my brother went in the raft when it was flooding. And the raft got flipped over. That water is so strong. And they both got tumbled into that water. They could have drowned. It was very scary. Well, I'm glad that Laura only looked at it and didn't get too close to that scary water. Well, it's Maria from Still Dreaming Homestead. I want to say I love you, I really do. But more importantly, God loves you, and He always will. Good night. God bless.